Welcome to the Graduate Job Podcast, your home for weekly information and inspiration to help you get the graduate job of your dreams.
Welcome to the Graduate Job Podcast with your host, James Curran. The Graduate Job Podcast is your weekly home for all things related to helping you on your journey to finding that amazing job. Each week I bring together the best minds in the industry, speaking to leading authors, entrepreneurs, coaches and bloggers who bring decades of experience into a bite-sized weekly 30-minute show. Put simply, this is a show I wish I had a decade ago when I graduated. We focus down again for episode 31, which is the first of a two-part special on graduate jobs and social work, as I speak to Katie Purser, Recruitment Director at Frontline. We delve into Frontline and its groundbreaking 2-year graduate social work program, examining what exactly it is, how you apply, and how you can stand out. We discuss the application process in detail and also cover why you should think about Frontline as your fast track into a career in social work. If you've ever thought about working with children and families, then this is an episode you won't want to miss. As always, links to all we discuss and a full transcript available in the show notes at graduatejobpodcast.com/frontline. Before we start though, these special episodes came about from an email I received from a listener called Marnie, who emailed saying that she would love to get into social work and asked if I could interview some of the leading graduate schemes. If you have some particular people or industries you'd like me to speak to on future shows, drop me a mail at hello@graduatejobpodcast.com and I'll do everything I can to get them on board. But let's not waste any more time and crack straight on with episode 31.
Really pleased today to be speaking to Katie Purser. Katie is the Recruitment Director at Frontline. Frontline are an organisation dedicated to recruiting high potential people and developing them into outstanding children's social workers here in the UK. Katie, welcome to the Graduate Job Podcast.
Thanks, James.
So I've given a very brief introduction to Frontline, but would you like to describe to our listeners what the scheme is and how it works?
Okay, so Frontline is a brand new charity and we've literally just gone independent this month. And our mission is to transform the lives of vulnerable children by recruiting and developing outstanding individuals to be leaders in social work and in broader society. What that means in a nutshell is that we believe that there are already some great social workers, but we don't think that there are enough of them, and we would like to hire more outstanding individuals who have a genuine interest and a genuine ability to have a really transformational impact on the lives of children. To give a bit more flavour to it, if you look at statistics, which we understand they're generalisations, but there are some that clearly demonstrate inequality that is faced by young people who have been in care at some point in their lives or have had some form of engagement with social services. And there's really shocking detail out there, such as 1 in 4 of the adult prison population were in care at some point in their lives. 6% of care leavers go to university compared to 38% of other young people, and that was in 2011. And there are just so many inequalities which young people face across from poverty to employment to issues to health problems to so many complex societal problems that these young people are having to navigate. And if Frontline can do one thing, which is to give that individual a truly outstanding and inspiring social worker who really believes that that person can break the cycle and break the difficulties that they're facing, then that to us is really important. Social work is a really valuable job and it does transform the lives of vulnerable people. It is a life choice and we're looking for truly outstanding people who can do that for other young people in society.
Amazing. And how long is the scheme? Is it do you join for a set period of time and is there lots of training involved?
It's a 2-year graduate programme. I can explain it for you if that's helpful.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
So it starts off with a 5-week summer training programme, and it's a really great opportunity. It's residential. You meet with other people who are going to be on the programme with you. We call them participants, and you essentially start your training together. The training's made up in that 5 weeks of a range of different lectures and activities which give you great knowledge and skills from leading academics. So the areas you might discuss and go to lectures are things like law, ethics, child development, psychology, and those are just some of the themes that you might learn. It's a really good grounding in social work. And we also teach people how to think systemically about families and relationships. in social work, thinking of a child as just a child on their own and trying to solve the problems that child has is very limiting. You actually need to look at that child within a system and think about the environment that they're in, the challenges that they're facing, the people that they're engaging with. You need to try and work through them with their families and themselves and to support them. We also teach our participants how to build meaningful relationships with vulnerable and challenging people, and also how to learn and assess risk and how to work with risk, which it is social work, it is high risk. The Summer Institute training also focuses on skills development, and by that we mean not just lectures but also role plays, interactive sessions with guest speakers from a whole different range of fields, as well as social work experts and young people who've been in care. So once you've had that really great grounding in your Summer Institute, you then join a local authority's Children's Services Department in the September. Now this is the practice-based learning experience. So we bunch our participants into groups of 4, and those individuals will learn with each other and be supervised and line managed by a really experienced child protection social worker. That person has been joint recruited by Frontline and the local authority so that we know they've got the right skills, the right knowledge, and they're absolutely in the right place to be able to support those young applicants. In the course of that first year, they'll be working directly with vulnerable children and families to get practice experience. There's over 200 days in practice on the job training, and alongside that there's 46 days of full days taught study. There's also, in the background in year 1, an academic tutor who will deliver independent tutorials with the individuals, but also with groups to support their learning needs. And the whole programme in year 1 is assessed by a series of essays, a series of observations that are done where you as the individual in your unit will go out and you will work with children and families, and you'll be observed and assessed on your progress to ensure that you're meeting the course requirements. At the very end of the first year, having experienced lots of different areas of social work and actually having practiced alongside your consultant social worker and some of your peers, you'll have got the experience and the knowledge and hopefully the qualification so that you get your postgraduate diploma in social work, which then allows you to formally register with the Health and Care Professions Council as a qualified social worker. So then in year 2, you are then a fully qualified social worker, you have your own caseload, and you are continuing to work in that local authority with a children's services team. The professional development in the second year is managed and supported by the local authority. You have a very bespoke training programme for people who are newly qualified social workers, but also Frontline will continue to provide ongoing leadership development training. And the idea there is that we're looking for people who can set out a vision for families and make a really transformational impact on the lives of young people by setting them a direction and goals and helping them to achieve those, rather than just sort of settling for what they can do on a daily basis.
Go back to the first year. So as part of the first year, you actually, you're working as a proper social worker. You're out. Would you be on your own, or would you always be supervised as you go out?
It's a really good question. So to start off with, you will be supervised all the way through to get you to a point where we believe that you've got enough experience and skills to be able to work independently. You'll be doing visits with your consultant social worker who will allow you to support them and shadow them to start with, and gradually the responsibility will shift across to yourself. There will also be some cases where once you've got to that level of competence where you can be a bit more independent, you and a buddy from your unit will go out together to do a house visit or to go and meet with a child in a school. But you will, over the course of that first year, you'll get to a point where you are actually capable of handling direct relationships with some of the individuals who need support from social services.
Okay. And is it always with children's social work, or will you sometimes do adult social work?
So the qualification specifically is social work. So you can cover all areas. And you actually do in your first year, you do 30 days in an adult placement setting. However, we are focusing on child protection social work because that's where you're getting your practical experience. So that means by the time you've qualified at the end of year 1, you are very well skilled and equipped to be a child protection social worker and to focus on that. The reason we focus on adults as well, and the reason that we should, is because so much complexities involved in families, but as a social worker, particularly child protection social worker, you're dealing with the parents as well, and you're managing and working with them to ensure that they, as a family unit, are able to actually achieve their outcomes and the best possible situation for them. So there is a lot of relationships with adults, although the areas of specific focus around the law and the practice are more around child protection.
And in terms of locations, whereabouts in the UK do you operate?
So Frontline operates in London and Greater Manchester. We also, in our first year, placed participants in Buckinghamshire. In our second year, we also placed in Essex and in Maidenhead and Windsor and Maidenhead. Next year, for the 2016 cohort, we're really delighted to be placing people in the North East locations. So Newcastle, Northumberland, down to Sunderland and Redcar.
And do applicants get a choice of where they can apply, or is it just placed? They're placed in a certain location? Applicants
can put their regional preferences on their application form and give any details around situations that might be more complex, that need to be accommodated. We obviously have limitations in that certain local authorities will only have a certain number of places, and we've got to accommodate. Next year it will be 180 people and their preferences. So we do ask for flexibility from our graduates, but we also will try and be supportive and thoughtful around their placement too.
So for people who are thinking about social work as a profession, what are some of the advantages of applying to Frontline as opposed to just going through the normal application route?
So there's definitely a place for both the different approaches to social work, and we would say think really carefully and look very carefully at the different options that are out there before you consider applying even to Frontline. If you want to do a more sort of deep theoretical academic-based course, a 2-year master's is a great programme to follow, and you will do within that, you'll do some placements in different locations. If you want to do it for a whole undergraduate degree, you can do a 3-year bachelor's. Again, that would be with some placements within it and academic lectures throughout the 3 years. With the Frontline programme, the academics is on top of your day job, on top of your 200 days in practice. So there's a very clear difference there, is that we are expecting high academic achievement whilst also fast learning within the practice-based environment. The other difference is with Frontline is that you are paid throughout, you're paid a bursary, whereas with the university courses you'd be paying for that yourselves, although you may be able to access some additional support. There is another training programme out there which is also brilliant called Step Up to Social Work, and that's run by the government. That is more localised local authority placements, very similar scheme to Frontline in that you train in the local authority on the job and qualify on the job doing the academic work alongside. The difference is that you're not in a unit and you'd be supervised by a social work manager within that local authority. But it's also a great scheme that people should look at, and it's paid by bursary.
Excellent, and I will link to that in the show notes. So check out the show notes at graduatejobpodcast.com, and I'll have links to everything that we discussed today. So Katie, moving on then to the application process, what are the key characteristics that you're looking for from applicants?
So we're looking for individuals who come to Frontline with a range of experiences. The first one is academics. That has to be a high standard. Most of our applicants have got 3 Bs in their A-levels and a 2-1, which is a prerequisite for the programme, as well as Maths and English GCSE Grade C, which is the minimum for social work. We do have a few applicants who have got less than 3 Bs, but that's generally owing to extenuating circumstances, or where they have a truly outstanding application form, and each one is considered on a case-by-case basis. The other really important aspect is about just having breadth and depth and a worldly head on your shoulders. The job of a social worker involves so many different interactions, not just with children and babies and teenagers, but actually with their parents, with grandparents, with teachers, with other professionals like the police, the Crown Prosecution Service. There are a whole range of individual stakeholders involved in social work, and we're looking for people who've got the ability to mould themselves into different situations, be it that professional meeting where you have to lead and work with your colleagues on a professional basis to deliver an outcome, or where you have to go and build a relationship very quickly with a family who've never met you before.
And just going back to the academic qualifications, is it 2-1? Is it strict 2-1 and above only, or would you take 2-2s in certain circumstances as well?
We are benchmarked against other social work training programs at the master's level, and for that you need a 2-1.
Okay, no, that's fairly clear cut there. And do you mind what the specific degree is in, or are you open to a broad church of subjects?
So we're open to all subjects. One little caveat is that if you are already a qualified social worker, having done a bachelor's or a master's already, we're unable to train you because you've got that qualification. But no, we're very, very open to a range of different disciplines, and actually already in our first 2 cohorts of participants, we've seen people with engineering degrees, architecture degrees, ranging through to criminology and sociology. So know that the broader the better, because actually when you're in your unit, how brilliant is it if you could turn to a colleague who studied law and you did a social policy degree and someone else did a science degree, to have a really good discussion about a case that's causing you complexity and causing you concerns, and to be able to get different opinions from a scientific approach to a legal approach to a more philosophical approach. So no, we're very open to the range and the blend of different subjects that will make people stronger in their learning.
Even geographers?
Even geographers, yes.
Wow, you really do take anyone. How important is previous experience with social work?
I think we don't have a really set condition around previous experience. However, it is a job which is going to involve a lot of different people engagement and people interaction. So I would say volunteering is very helpful, especially volunteering in a variety of different areas, or even the work history that you might have and jobs that you've had. I would never underestimate a job that you might have done that you think will look a bit silly on an application form, because actually it shows depth to what you've done in your past. I'm trying to think of examples of things I've seen in application forms, but one of my favourite was someone whose work history came from Primark. That was pretty much their job that they'd done since they'd left school every summer and every Christmas. And actually the candidate was very, very good at assessment centre. And thinking about it, if you've done 5 years hard graft in a Primark at the different times of year, that to me actually does show some element of resilience and strength of character to do that job. But there's also a whole range of other jobs as well that people can do. There is definitely not a sort of one size fits all. It's very much a blend and a range. And if you feel ready, then you should apply.
If you can handle the hordes in Primark during a sale time, then you've certainly got good interpersonal skills.
Yes.
And how about age restrictions? Is it open to people looking to maybe change careers?
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't have an age limit. Our oldest applicant is actually got about 10 years left until they retire. So no, we're really open. We're just looking for people who have got the ability to commit to the intensity of the 2-year programme and are prepared to do the academic input and work required to achieve their postgraduate diploma in that first year, as well as train on the job with no spare time.
So we're recording this at the beginning of September, and your application process opens in a few days on the 7th of September.
Yeah.
What does the actual application process look like?
So the application process starts with a self-selection questionnaire. That's a brilliant opportunity to explore some of the scenarios that you might face in social work and some of the interactions that you might have with families. Immediately after that, you'd be invited to register for the application form, and when you register, you just need to let us know whether you meet the criteria, which is the 3 C's and the maths, the 2 C's in your maths and English GCSE, your 2-1 degree, your eligibility to work in the UK, and whether you have any DBS, previously CLB, so criminal convictions, details that we need to know about. After that first section, you then do an online application form. There are a series of competency-based questions and a request for your CV history, which we ask you to fill out in a set form. You then will go straight into some online tests. So there's 2 tests that you do on the online stage. There's one which is a situational judgment test. So similar to that test that set up the whole of the application process, you will do a series of questions, and you have to identify which one you feel is most likely your choice, your top choice, and you have to identify which is your least likely choice. You then will do a verbal reasoning test, which is to assess your logical thinking and your critical thinking and adaptability under pressure when working with the verbal detail. It's really important that social workers have a high level of literacy. They're dealing with complex law reports and a lot of details on cases that we want to make sure that people can do upfront and process that information very quickly. Once the online tests are completed, if you have met the standards that we're looking for in those tests, we will then screen your application form in depth, and if successful in the application form, we'll invite you to a video interview. And the final stage, once you've got past video interview, is the assessment centre, which is a day in London, in our near to our head office, where we will put the individuals through a range of different activities which will help them to understand whether social work is the right job for them, but also a chance for us to see whether we think they've got the right abilities and skills to be a social worker. A small tip for people applying is that we recommend don't look at the entire process and think, I've got a lot to get through. Take each stage as it goes. And our applicants say that thinking in chunks makes the process a lot more manageable and a lot more achievable.
That's a good tip. It can be quite daunting, and one of the reasons why I think lots of schemes have a lot of people who start the process and don't finish it is they just get a bit scared by the work that's involved.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you said, if you break it down, it becomes a lot more manageable.
Yeah.
So breaking that down then and making it manageable, what are you looking for then with the application form? How can people stand out and make their application form one that sails through?
I think the most important thing for any job is making sure you've done your homework. Certainly when you do your application form, you're probably going to be asked about why it is you're interested in a job, and I would certainly have got a good answer for that and have done my research into why I'd want to be applying for any job, not just Frontline. Then also just thinking very carefully about which examples to use when answering competency-based questions, and thinking about what skills we use within that. Then the third thing there is also to look at work history and making sure that you do detail things that you've done and don't belittle or undermine any achievement or role that you've played, because actually all of that shows us that you've got a good work ethic, good people skills, and a range of different experiences to bring to the job.
No, good advice there. And you mentioned the video interview, which sounds very interesting stage. How does this work?
So the video interview, I can tell you, is not as daunting as it sounds. We've all had to do it ourselves in the head office, and it's quite an enjoyable experience. So you will be sent the video interview via an email link. The brilliant thing about it is that you open it up, and in your own time, in the most comfortable environment for yourself, you can then answer the questions that we've put to you. What you'll see is a question on the screen, and there'll be 30 seconds to 1 minute to think about an answer, and then you'll have various set times. So it might be anything from 30 seconds to 2 minutes to give your verbal response to the question that's been asked to you. There are only about 7 questions. It's fairly short and sweet. It only takes about 20 minutes maximum. There is some great software out there to practice video interviews. It's a very, very similar concept to using Skype, in that you can see yourself on the screen, which is slightly off-putting, but it's something that is absolutely manageable. And what we've found is that despite offering a telephone interview to people if they did want it, not one person, or I think one person last year asked for a telephone interview. Every other person was happy to do the video interview, and actually it was a much more engaging experience for them. Behind the scenes, we will then pick up those video interviews in our own time as well, and we will be looking to see the candidate's motivation, be looking to see their communication skills, and just getting a good sense about whether that person's got enough about them to be at our assessment centre when we're going to put them through those intensive social work activities.
Excellent. And do people get the chance to see the question they're going to be asked, then go away, think about it for a few days and record it? Or is it a question of you click go, you see the question, you've literally got 90 seconds before you've got to give the answer?
James, you're absolutely right. It's a second of those two. You get the question on the screen and you do your answer there and then. So it's a case of preparing, as you would for any interview, just preparing around why you want to do the job and your level of interest within it.
And making sure that you've washed your hair and you've got something smart.
Yeah, don't leave your washing in the background. That's not a good sign.
Top tip there. And how about the assessment centre? What are you looking for in the assessment centre?
So in the assessment centre, we're looking for people to demonstrate to us that they've got the skills we're looking for. So we have 8 different competencies that we assess our applicants against. The first group is commitment to children and families. By that, there's motivation. There's also reflection and ability to, yes, know what your own strengths and weaknesses are, but also recognise the impact that you have on other people. And the third one in that commitment to children and families group is around resilience. Social work is a very tough job, and at times it can be emotionally challenging, and we need to make sure that our applicants have got the strength and the past history of the ability to cope under pressure, whether it's short-term or long-term, and also those interactions you've got with people. The second assessment centre competency group is around working with people. Within that, we're looking for people's communication skills, and that's really diverse because obviously you've got to, as I said earlier, you've got to engage with professionals in one angle, but the next minute you have to be having a relationship with a person that you've just met who might be very vulnerable. Then the second area within that is around empathy and relationships, and that's the more granular, how you actually make people feel, how you understand them, and get a good relationship going with people who you just met very quickly. The final competency group is leading with sound judgment. Within that, we've got leadership, which is around setting a vision, being able to work with families to help them set their own goals and create a plan which will enable them to become successful within it, and breaking that down and leading them to be successful within their own goals. The second area is around analysis and adaptability. Social work is so complicated because there are so many factors that influence families and influence young people. So it's really important that people are able to analyse information but also adapt with it. And if you're someone who loves the detail and gets bogged down in detail, this probably isn't the right job for you, because if you can't adapt within that, you're going to really struggle when you're faced with a lot of complex, different information from different angles, which you need to sift through.
Lots of competencies there to keep in mind during the exercises. And what would be one tip that you give someone during the assessment centre to help them stand out and be their best?
I think that the great thing about our assessment centre, and it's very similar to Teach First, is that we're looking for a standard. It's not that you are going to be beating anyone else to the job. It's more about you demonstrating to us you've got the range of skills we need. So I would say make sure that you've done your homework, feel relaxed, feel confident. If we want you to be at assessment centre, then we want you to impress us and we want to meet you because we seriously think you could do this job. So definitely feel confident in yourself and just enjoy the day. It's as much an exploratory experience for the applicant as it is for Frontline.
Yeah, as you said, be confident. You know, if all 10 people there are good, I'm sure you'll make 10 offers.
Yes, we loved it.
Excellent. And a couple of final questions as time is running away with us. One that I know all listeners like me to ask: what's the salary starting at, and what does it go up to in the second year?
So the bursary payment in year one varies across different regions. In the Manchester region, it's a bursary equivalent to a salary of £19,000, whereas in the London region, you've got London waiting on that. In the second year, most local authorities will be paying at minimum, they'll be paying about £24,000 for a newly qualified social worker, and again, you've got London waiting on that.
And what would you say are the best things about joining the Frontline scheme?
To have a really amazing job where you really transform people's lives, and to go home and feel, despite the hard days that you sometimes experience, gosh, I've really made an impact, and I know that family is so grateful for what I've done with them. I think that's one of the best things. The second thing is just knowing that you're working with these really inspirational other participants and other social workers who are all invested in the same cause and the same mission to really help and support and transform the lives of vulnerable people.
And final question now before we go to our weekly questions. What would you say to convince someone who is in two minds about applying to Frontline?
Do your homework and work it out yourself. If this job is not right for you, don't apply. Don't go for this job on a whim. Make sure you've really thought about whether you are prepared to make the life choice that is social work for the next 2 years of your life.
That's great advice, and one that people should apply to all jobs they apply for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on, each week I ask each of my guests a series of questions, so I'm going to hit you up with these now. Are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so what one book would you recommend that our listeners read?
So I'm afraid I'm going to go for one that's social work related, but it's a really brilliant book, and it's called Hackney Child by an author called Hope Daniels. It's a brilliant book. It's based on the true story of a child whose parents are unable to cope, and they are experiencing severe poverty and a whole range of complex problems within their family and their environment, which means that she has to help her brother survive the situation, and also she has to take herself into care, which is amazing in itself, that she can get herself into care outside of anyone else's support. And as you read the book, you find out more about the circumstances. You hear about the incredible determination of Hope herself, as well as the incredible support from professionals within the care system and outside of that, who were able to enable her to break the generational cycle that so often affects people who do have to go into care. So it's a really, truly outstanding book. And if anyone is interested in applying to social work, it's a great basis for which to understand some of the complexity within society.
Excellent, and a good one to name drop during the application process as well.
Mm-hmm.
Super. And what one website would you recommend that our listeners visit?
Well, aside from saying Frontline, the other one I would suggest, just on a very broad basis from the graduate recruitment hat, is using LinkedIn. I think you can learn a lot from LinkedIn. There's a fantastic range of networks out there, range of people out there, and I would certainly be recommending that people, if they haven't already and they're genuinely looking for a good job, they should be creating their LinkedIn profiles and getting themselves quite active in thinking about that and joining groups.
Sound advice, very true. And finally, what one tip would you give our listeners that they can implement today on their job hunt?
Find something you're interested in and go for it with the application form. I think people don't realise that when you really can show that you're interested in something and you really get it, you shine naturally. It's not something that you have to try. And actually, if you can find the jobs that make you feel quite excited and get a bit of a buzz when you look at them, that's the kind of job you should be applying for. Other jobs, I would just maybe leave those ones for a bit until you really get desperate and go for them. But just in the first instance, just find that job that makes you go, wow, this is the one I would really want to go for.
Katie, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Graduate Job Podcast. What is the best way for people to get in touch with yourself and with Frontline to apply?
So Frontline has got lots of different avenues. I would suggest starting with the website, because there's so many great stories and blogs and videos and information about the programme. After that, there are things like Facebook, where you can get more information about our social media updates, as well as LinkedIn, which I've name dropped before. And after that, if you have any more questions, you can email recruitment@thefrontline.org.uk.
Katie, thank you very much for coming on the Graduate Job Podcast.
Thanks, James. It's been a pleasure.
Many thanks again to Katie Purser. As usual, 3 quick points to take away from me. The first is that there aren't many graduate jobs where you have the chance on a day-to-day basis to really make a difference to people's lives. Your skills at conditional formatting in Excel might be good, but they aren't that good. Working at Frontline will certainly be challenging, but you will have an amazing opportunity to make a difference to the lives of children and families here in the UK. As Kim Stevenson talked about on the topic of money and happiness in episode 30, if you have a purpose in your work, you are more likely to be satisfied and happy. And working at Frontline is more likely to give you a purpose than many of the other graduate jobs out there. And linked to this, the skills you will develop on the 2-year scheme will stick with you for life, no matter where you take your career. The second and third points come from the advice that Katie gave. I loved her point of tackling the application by breaking it down into chunks. Graduate application forms can be daunting. Multiple questions where you need to answer in 200 words or less, whilst showing complete knowledge of the firm's desired competencies, then online tests and increasingly videos, not to mention assessment centres. And when faced with all of that, it's easy to procrastinate and to put it off. But follow Katie's advice and break it down one step at a time, one question, one section at a time. Make it small, manageable, and keep moving through it. Finally, I love Katie's top tip of finding a job that makes you go wow. As she said, find the job that excites you, as if you're interested in it, you're more likely to shine in it. And if you're interested in it, doing well in it, then you'll be happy in it. And the aim of the Graduate Job Podcast will be fulfilled. So there you go. Episode 31 finished. Check out graduatejobpodcast.com/frontline for links to everything we've discussed and a full transcript. Do get in touch with me on Twitter at gradjobpodcast or email me at hello@graduatejobpodcast.com. Let me know what you thought of the episode, request for people you'd like to see in the show, or just to say hello. If you have enjoyed the show, please leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. As I say every week, it's the best way other than sharing us with your friends to show appreciation for the podcast, and it helps massively in the rankings on iTunes. Also, if you've not already subscribed via your podcast provider of choice, sort that out. It's the easiest way to get each episode delivered to you for free and to make sure that you don't miss a thing. Now next week we have part 2 of our social work special when I speak with Ivan Wise from Think Ahead as we cover the topic of mental health for social work. I hope you enjoyed the episode today, but more importantly, I hope you use it and apply it. See you next week.